Hey class, we are back, and today we are talking about our last lesson for the Great Depression. We're talking about the end of the Great Depression and the legacy it left behind. And there was a number of things it left behind. Left behind the programs we talked about the other day with the first New Deal. Some of those are still in place even today. All right, it left behind lots of different people were scarred by this because I mean it took a long time to recover from the Great Depression. And one of the things that really helped jumpstart it, and they think that was when World War II came about. It put people back to work, provided jobs. So, but that's what we're talking about today: the Great Depression and the end of the Great Depression and the legacy it left behind. It didn't just end in one day, like I said. Everything was all better. The exact date when the Great Depression ended is a big debated topic by historians and economists. Most people put the start of the end at the beginning of World War II in 1939. That's when it started to end. Was when World War II came about.
When did the Great Depression end? The Great Depression didn't just end one day and everything was all better. The exact date when the Great Depression ended is much debated by historians and economists. Most people put the start of the end at the beginning of World War II in 1939.
So what caused it to end? All right. There's a lot of debate on what caused this to end. Most historians point to World War II as the beginning of it. All right. So when the war began, factories went back to full production, building war supplies, tanks, airplanes, ships, guns, ammunition. Unemployment dropped because people went back to work. All right. More and more people went back to work. Young men joined the army. People went to work in the factories. Other people give credit to the New Deal programs in the 1930s for ending the Depression. So I think it was a little mixture of both. All right. You had the programs that were put in place, and it boosted the economy some. And then when they went back to war or went to war again, everything just kind of fell in place. For the most part, I think is a combination of both.
What caused it to end? Even more debated is what caused the Great Depression to end. Most historians point to World War II. When the war began, factories went back to full production, building war supplies such as tanks, airplanes, ships, guns, and ammunition. Unemployment dropped as young men joined the army and people went to work in the factories. Other people give credit to the New Deal programs in the 1930s for ending the Depression.
All right. So continuing on this topic, when did it end, or what caused it to end? There was a lot of factors that helped to get this U.S. economy going again. Like I said, World War II, government regulations, a new banking system. All right. At the end of the drought in Midwest, okay, the drought finally ended in the Midwest with the farming for everything. They all contributed to the recovery of the economy. All these different factors contributed to it.
What caused it to end continued. No doubt there were a lot of factors that helped get the U.S. economy going again. World War II, government regulations, a new banking system, and the end of the drought in the Midwest all contributed to the recovery of the economy.
All right. So the legacy it left behind, it left this lasting legacy on people and government of the United States. Many people who lived through the era, they distrusted banks. All right. They just didn't trust them because they were taking all their money after the Great Depression. They were taking their home. They were taking all kinds of things. They wouldn't buy goods using credit anymore. They bought things with cash. They stored emergency rations in their basement. All right. Other people felt the Depression made them and the country stronger, and it taught people about hard work and survival. So you had different things for different people. Like a lot of people distrusted, but some people said, "Hey, it brought the country together and made us stronger."
Legacy. The Great Depression left a lasting legacy on people and the government of the United States. Many people who lived through the era distrusted banks and no longer would buy goods using credit. They bought things with cash and stored emergency rations in their basement. Other people felt that the Depression made them and the country stronger. It taught people about hard work and survival.
All right, the New Deal. Many agencies and laws passed by the New Deal, it changed the country forever. All right. New Deal changed the way people thought about the role of the government. All right. Before, even Herbert Hoover, he didn't think that the role of government should play a part in all of that. Okay. So he didn't do a whole lot to help the people. But once the New Deal was put in place, all right, the government had more of its hand in people's everyday lives, all right. The most important new law was the Social Security Act, all right. And this act, through the payroll tax, it provided retirement for the elderly, assistance to the disabled, unemployment insurance, and it's still a major part of the government today. We still have the Social Security Act in place today.
The New Deal. The many agencies and laws passed by the New Deal changed the country forever. The New Deal changed the way people thought about the role of the government. Perhaps the most important new law was the Social Security Act. This act, through a payroll tax, provided retirement for the elderly, assistance to the disabled, and unemployment insurance. It's still a major part of the government today.
Other New Deal programs that impact our lives even today. You've got the FDIC, which is insurance. It keeps your money at the bank safe. All right. If something happens to your money, if that bank closes, something happens, it's insured. Excuse me. It's insured. You have stock market regulations to keep companies from lying about their profits. That's the Security Commissions Act. All right. You've got farm programs. You've got housing programs. You've got laws protecting protecting and regulating unions. All these things are still in place from the 1930s New Deal programs. So almost 100 years later, 90 years later.
The New Deal continued. Other New Deal programs that impact our lives today include banking reform, like FDIC insurance, which keeps your money at the bank safe, stock market regulations to keep companies from lying about their profits, farm programs, housing programs, and laws protecting and regulating union.
All right. You also have public works. The works programs such as WPA and PWA and CCC, they did more than just providing jobs. They left a lasting mark on the country. The WPA, Works Progress Administration alone, they built over 5,000 new schools during this time, 1,000 new libraries, 8,000 parks, 650,000 miles of new roads. They built or repaired over 124,000 bridges. And many of these schools, parks, bridges, libraries, and roads, they're still used today. All right. So the infrastructure helped the U.S. economy for decades and decades. And like I said, it's been 90 years since all of this took place. And things are still going on today. They're still used. A lot of these places are still in use.
Public works. The works programs such as WPA and PWA and CCC did more than just provide jobs to the unemployed. They left a lasting mark on the country. The WPA, or Works Progress Administration, alone built over 5,000 new schools, 1,000 libraries, 8,000 parks, over 650,000 miles of new roads, and built or repaired over 124,000 bridges. Many of these schools, parks, bridges, libraries, and roads are still used today. This infrastructure helped the U.S. economy for decades to come.
All right, let's go with our comprehension questions here. What major war do many historians credit with ending the Great Depression? A, the Civil War, B, World War II, or C, World War I? It is B, World War II. Do not get confused and say World War I. It is World War II. World War I came before the Great Depression.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 2, what series of laws passed during the Great Depression changed the American government forever? A, the New Deal, B, nothing, or C, no deal? It is A, the New Deal. The New Deal was a series of laws and programs that were passed, and it changed our country forever.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 3, what law provided retirement for the elderly through a payroll tax? A, Social Security, B, soil conservation, or C, nothing? It was A, Social Security. Social Security Act is still in place today, and it still has a lasting impact.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 4, what type of insurance keeps your money in the bank safe? A is soil conservation, B is Social Security, or C, the FDIC? It is C, the FDIC. If something happens to your money, it is insured now.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
And that is our last one. we will come back next time and we will start World War II. All right. We will start World War II because it's what ended the Great Depression. And we have lots of stuff. I'm not going over lots of battles in it. I've got a couple in there, I believe, but we're not going over lots of battles because I don't want to confuse you. But World War II was a major war between Europe and the United States joined in later. They were trying to stay neutral in it, just like they did in World War One. But that's what we'll be talking about next time when I see you. So you all have a good day, and I will see you next time.